Hello everybody, thank you very much as always for tuning in today to RETV. My name's Paul and I'm in rFactor 2 once again, taking a look at I'm going to call it a new circuit. It's actually an update to an existing track that's in rFactor 2 at the moment, and it's Zandvoort. I say I'm calling it new because it's gone through a considerable update process, and I think it's fair to say with the amount of changes that have taken place in this latest build of the track, it's worthy of the title of being entirely brand new. It's gone through a massive overhaul and it's been released just in time for the news that Formula 1 will be coming to Zandvoort in 2020 for the return of the Dutch Grand Prix. Great news for the people in the Netherlands. They can go and support Max Verstappen at their local track. Great for anybody that wants to go have a party while watching Formula 1, but probably, maybe, who knows, a little bit disappointing for those of us that want to watch a good quality motor race on television, because Zandvoort is tight and it's twisty, and we're going to go out in the radical in rFactor 2 and have a look at this newly updated circuit and see how it stands in comparison to some of the admittedly rather awesome content that's come out for rFactor 2 in the last few months. So without further ado, I am going to get onto track. I'm going to take our trusty little radical out for a race against 23 other cars from the same class and share our thoughts and opinions on the freshly updated Zandvoort track by Studio 397, a free addition to the sim to rFactor 2. Right, so we are starting our race in the mighty but small radical at Zandvoort, and off they go. So, first corner, probably the most famous corner on this steeped in history Dutch racetrack, the Tarzan hairpin. Slightly banked, quite fast, quite tight, quite difficult hairpin. Probably going to be the key overtaking spot on the track when Formula 1 comes here for the 2020 season. Now, I mentioned in the intro, yes, Formula 1 is coming back to Dutch shores for the first time in 35 years, which is awesome news for the country and for Max Verstappen and his legion of loyal fans that often make the trek to other close tracks, such as the German venue, wherever that might be at any given time, Hockenheim or Nürburgring. Of course, Spa, which is always a good place to go and have yourself a party. And the A1 ring or Red Bull ring or whatever they call in Austria nowadays as well. But now, young Max at Red Bull has his own home Grand Prix coming back on the grid next season. And it's an interesting choice. And it's perfectly timed that Studio 397 would go out and offer this substantial update to the circuit in rFactor 2. It's a free track in rF2, so it's not a DLC. There's nothing for you, the user, to do to get it other than subscribe to it in the Steam workshop for rFactor 2. And it's been loitering around for a little while now by Studio 397. I think 0.35 was the first version they brought out, which, although it had the bare bones and it was absolutely raceable, was a little bit, I think it's fair to say, basic in its implementation. Now, this new update, I think it's on 1.05 as of the end of May 2019, has been massively updated, visually, technically, and everything in between. It looks the business nowadays, and it's pretty much what Studio 397 would consider to be a finished product. There might be the odd small update or hotfix included in it a little bit later down the line, but this is pretty much a version 1 complete track now, and the changes are absolutely remarkable compared to the early versions of the track. Visually, it's again making use of some of the new shader technology, just like the Monaco E-Prix that we spoke about earlier on. And visually, it's one of the best looking tracks now, one of the best looking first party tracks, as I completely and utterly fluff that corner in rFactor 2, without a doubt. It's got a lovely, I like the colour palette that rFactor 2 are using at the moment. It's very photorealistic in terms of the shades that they're using and the way that they've represented the track as I embarrassingly get passed round the outside into the little fiddly Mickey Mouse chicane. And I think it really does benefit from it. We're running at 2 PM on a clear sky conditions for this particular race, so it looks quite nice. The shadows, the sun is in the sky, the sand is on the circuit because Zandvoort, of course, is a beachside location, so just over that wall, or this one because the camera's reversed, there's some dunes and the sea and a lovely looking beach that I often see when I'm flying over the top of it on the way to the bossman's house. So yeah, a beautiful idyllic location, and the way that S397 Studio 397 have gone about replicating it in sim is a testament to this fabled old track. It looks absolutely beautiful, and the difference between this and the earlier version, the initial release version of Zandvoort, is marked in its differences. There's a whole lot more atmosphere, trackside furniture. Everything's just been neatened up and cleaned up and polished and optimised for this release. And the difference is night and day. And that's why, at the beginning of this video, I alluded to the fact that we should pretty much call this an entirely new track. I think it's unfair to call it an update. It is a new track in its own right. It's that much improved and different. That's really cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting that actually we've got Zandvoort in its current configuration, as the Formula 1 announcement will bring with it changes to the circuit, so we're led to believe. So it's nice to see, before the FIA and Herman Tilke and whoever else gets his hands on it and probably, and no doubt, ruins it for everybody. It's nice to get the unspoilt version, as I make a little mistake, get a little bit flighty mid-corner and have a skirt with the gravel somewhat. Yeah, it's great to see this original, not original as in day one release 35 years ago, but the current version before it gets Formula 1ified, if that's a word, ready for the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix. By the way, while we're on the topic, what will they be changing for the Dutch Grand Prix? Well, if you're paying any attention to the runoff or lack thereof all the way around this circuit, probably quite a bit. We know for sure that the final corner and the chicane are in for some changes, so they've already highlighted the people responsible, including Jan Lammers, by the way, himself a former Grand Prix driver and bit of a star in the endurance racing and Le Mans scene for the last few years, heading up the project to bring Dutch GP 2020 into life. But yeah, the changes they'll be making, they've already stated that there's going to be a reprofiling of the final turn. So they're going to be making that a long banked corner in the hope that Formula 1 cars can follow each other closely enough through there, get a slipstream, probably a bit of DRS as well, down the main start-finish straight, and use the Zandvoort hairpin at T1 as an overtaking opportunity. This corner here, the little tricky Mickey Mouse-esque chicane, is going to have these big sand traps and sausage curbs removed and made into AstroTurf, so there's a little bit more room to play should things go wrong and should a side-by-side attempt fall flat on its face. And this corner here, as I say, the banked turn is going to be given a little bit, not banked turn, sorry, last turn, it's going to be given a little bit of banking in the hope that the cars can slingshot off down this long start finish straight and do what this guy's trying to do, get me into the Tarzan hairpin. I'm obviously running way too much wing on here because I'm a sitting duck down the straights, and I dare say as well, because of the speeds involved in Formula 1, the runoff area must surely be significantly extended at Tarzan to give the enough safety runoff margin area for the Grand Prix cars should something go Pete Tong. Now Zandvoort's a little bit unusual for modern Formula 1 tracks, and that it's got something that probably new fans of the sport won't remember, but certainly old hands like me will. Gravel traps. There are little bits of gravelly sandy type stuff at the side of the track that catch a spinning car and bring it to a halt. This is something that Formula 1 has universally decided they don't like, it seems, and removed from practically every racetrack, to be swapped out for acres upon acres of tarmac. Now, whether the sand traps survive the Formula 1 remodelling or not, I don't yet know. I hope they do. I like a good old gravel trap, I must admit. I think it's a bit of a shame to see these be removed from Formula 1 duty. But we shall see what happens with that one when the remodelling takes place. Anyway, enough of that, Paul. You've rambled on far too much about a topic that people are not interested in and haven't listened and tuned into this video to watch. So let's talk about the Zandvoort of here and now. The Zandvoort that is in rFactor 2. Well, you can see for yourself, visually, she's a beauty. Looks absolutely great as I get murdered down the straight again. I've got a mix of too much downforce and too high of an AI setting to be even remotely competitive in this race. But it doesn't matter, it's the track we're interested in, not my racing prowess and ability to carve my way through a field of radicals. Although this guy's getting a little bit leery. There we go, catch a small slide. They're a little bit light, short wheelbase cars, got a lot of horsepower, got a motorbike engine strapped to the back of them, so these things go like stink and turn on a sixpence. But anyway, what I say, yes, Zandvoort. Visually you can see it looks absolutely beautiful. It's taking advantage of all the latest bells and whistles and goodies that Studio 397 have brought to the graphics engine of rFactor 2 over the last few months. And it's one of the most visually appealing tracks, I think, in the roster of circuits by Studio 397 for rFactor 2 release today. It's right up there with Sebring and Monaco E-Prix for me in terms of visual impression that it leaves. There's plenty of atmosphere as that little car jumps over the curb to get past me, and we're going to try and duke it out on the exit of the chicane. To my advantage just about, but I'm compromised for this corner, so I have to stick to the inside, get on the brakes, try and keep to the apex, get a decent run. And we have just, I think, survived. If we can keep it on, the grey stuff around here. Yep, survived a little bit longer, so we're not quite plumb last. Not quite plumb last yet, but my crippling lack of straight line speed once again cost me in a Tarzan. Let's see if we can do a bit of a switchback. Very difficult. You wouldn't believe it with the number of cars that are passing me here, but it's a very difficult to overtake on circuit, this one. World Touring Car raced here for the last few years, and or the World WTCR as it is nowadays. And even in a touring car like that, where overtaking is relatively straightforward and plentiful, even there it's very much a processional event, follow me leader type business. Very difficult to pass the car in front unless they've got massive amounts of wings that they don't need, like I have, or they make a mistake if it's the real life situation. So I'll be very curious to see how Formula 1 can justify from a racing standpoint why they've come to a traditionally incredibly difficult track to pass. Well, hey, it's not for us to question that one. It'll still be cool to see Zandvoort back on the Grand Prix grid. I wouldn't want to be trackside trying to get away from it, because the queues are, I am reliably informed, somewhat horrendous getting in and out of the track. But hey ho, won't be my problem, because I'll be watching on television and queues won't mean anything to me as I get a little bit leery on the loud pedal trying to get past this cheeky chappie who's easily overtaken me, but he's gone to the inside this time and compromised himself, giving me an opportunity to do absolutely nothing about it by the looks of it, because I've got no grunt in this car. It goes nowhere compared to the AI. So let's get straight to the inside of Tarzan and just defend.
That was a 1:48.
Yep, sorry, getting back up. I'm getting off topic again. I'm rambling on about Formula 1 and my happiness slash sadness that they're going to come to this track. I think I'm most sad because Zandvoort is a wonderful track from a driver's point of view, and I'm just hoping they don't do anything detrimental to it in terms of layout or the old school, old-fashioned nature of it. It's not one of these big Silverstone-esque, every modern safety procedure in the world has been applied to it kind of job. It just feels a little bit like the passage of time has just passed it a little bit and not bothered with huge massive runoff areas and there we go. Probably could have done me a huge massive runoff area then. The trackside scenery sucked me in with a couple of wheels on the grass, so note to self, don't want to be doing that again in the future. Whether that's by design or by accident that happened, I'm not quite sure, but it felt a little bit like the grass shouldn't have behaved so much like that. I got sucked onto it a little bit, so hey, maybe found a bug. Who knows? I'll report that to Studio 397 and ask them if it really should be quite so dramatic a reaction to lightly touching two wheels onto the green stuff. So, back to the track for the 100th time. Let's see if we can actually talk about this piece of content, which is essentially what the video is all about. So I've been a little bit late off the marks. This track's been out for a week or two now. Again, various reasons have kept me away from making video content. So apologies for that one, folks. I'm sure anybody who does watch this has probably already got the track because, well, why wouldn't you? It's free. And I really like it. I think from a driving point of view, again, as we've come to expect from recent Studio 397 content, the road mesh feels really good. I can feel the textures of the road really quite nicely. It responds and behaves really well to the cars I'm driving and the force feedback even wheel which I'm using in a really nice way. I can feel the cambers, I can feel the bumps. It's all one tarmac. So it's not like the previous two rFactor tracks that we'd reviewed, which have been Sebring and Monaco, which are street circuits essentially, or they've got different kinds of surface style connecting with each other. So Monaco obviously is a street track by its very nature, so it's literally using the streets. And Sebring is a very old and battered and well-used circuit that's got concrete and tarmac joining up. And they're really apparent. You can feel the difference under your wheels of those two surfaces. But this is a purpose-built racetrack, relatively freshly laid tarmac upon it as well, so it is smooth by comparison, but it's still a well-used venue, so you can still feel the bumps, jolts and the wheel. You can feel when the track dips and undulates and the cambers within it really quite nicely indeed. Am I last? Yeah, I'm last. Awesome.
That was a 140.
And again, Studio 397 are really, in my opinion, as I way overshoot the apex, Studio 397 really are, in my opinion, beginning to excel in their track creation for rFactor 2, and this is no exception to that list. It's really well put together. Performance-wise, really good. I've got OBS running, I'm on a single screen. Granted, because I've got the AI set too high and my suboptimal car setup, I'm nowhere near another car, but I'm getting 160, 170 FPS on this one. And that's really quite an impressive number for something that's as visually detailed and high quality as Zandvoort is that we're driving now. So yeah, performance-wise, again, they seem to be doing a really good job with their recent releases. The visuals, as I've said, the atmospheric stuff at the side of the track as we go past a porta cabin toilet next to the marshal's post. The atmospheric side of things, really high end. They've got a really good attention to detail on Zandvoort. Of course, Studio 397 are predominantly a Dutch company, and this is a Dutch circuit, so I'm sure there's a little bit of national pride in there as well, wanting to do the track justice. They'll plane, as you see, taking off. That could be me one day. Really nicely done. Visually, performance-wise, and the feeling through the wheel. All really solid. I've got a bit of a flat spot actually, so it's vibrating my wheel somewhat. I hope that's not affecting the camera that sits on the top of the monitor. If so, you see me going like that, but my apologies for that one. My incompetent driving has meant I've got square front tyres rather than the standard round ones. So, heyo, what can I do about it now? Too late, we're already well into the video and it's late at night, so I ain't starting it again. So, apologies if that's the case. I'll think about what I'm going to do about that sort of thing for future videos later on, as we enter the last 1 minute according to my little pop-up screen in the bottom left hand corner, which you'll not be able to see because my ugly mug is covering that bit of the screen. Feels like then pretty good time. That's 20 minutes gone fast. Wow, I've spent a lot of time rambling about garbage. So let's summarise. Let's summarise, shall we? That sounds like a good idea. Visuals. You can see for yourself. Absolutely beautiful. As a standalone item, the visuals are very nice indeed. As a upgrade from previous versions of Zandvoort, mind-blowing difference. Really massively improved over the initial iterations of this track in rFactor 2. So well up there with the top quality visual experience that I've had in the recent content releases for rF2. Absolutely beautiful. Performance-wise, fabulous. Runs butter smooth. So really pleased with the performance aspect of the track, as I again make a complete and utter absolute ghoulies of the first corner. The way it interacts, the track, with the cars, so the feel, the force feedback, I suppose the force feedback detail it's giving us, really good. You can feel all the fine details, you can feel the little bump that you get there really nicely, and the way the track undulates and changes. It's another really high quality, absolutely awesome release by Studio 397. It's a great layout, it's a beautiful track to drive, it's a beautiful track to race, even though passing is quite difficult, in a whole variety of different content, from a touring car to an open wheeler to a GT to suppose like a junior prototype like this little Radical as well. So layout wise, really impressive, really like it. And price, cheap as chips, it's free. There's two different layouts, if I remember correctly. There may even be three, I can't quite remember now. We're on the Grand Prix one, and there's also a couple of junior layouts in there as well for slower, smaller cars, if that tickles your fancy. So yeah, really impressed, really enjoyed my time in the track. If you've not tried it yet, or not given it much love, I recommend you do so, because it's well worth your time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is that. So, as always, massively appreciate you taking time out of your busy lives to watch me ramble on about garbage. This has been rFactor 2. We've been driving the latest build of the Zandvoort circuit, soon to be host to the Dutch Grand Prix in Formula 1. I've been Paul Jeffrey, you've been watching RDTV. We have a presence on the internet, believe it or not, on YouTube and Twitch. So please do, it would please me greatly if you went over there, gave this video a like, give us a subscribe or a follow. And we're also on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, so please do check those out as well. You can catch us at RaceDepartment.com, and we have a regular podcast discussing all things real and virtual. So just search for Race Department at your podcast service of choice and have a listen to On average, there's 4 of us in the virtual studio talking about anything and everything that's happening in the world of the real and the virtual motorsports. So yeah, just left for me to say thanks for tuning in. Sim racing's awesome. Until next time,